Today's guest is breaking barriers in the world of sports and beyond. Toni Will has 25 years of leadership experience starting in banking and now serving as the first female GM, general manager, and governor of the ECHL, which is, for those of you who aren't following hockey, it's the East Coast Hockey League, the premier AA professional hockey league in the US and Canada. She's been leading the Kalamazoo Wings for the last 10 years, where the team has been recognized for sales, revenue growth, and DEI initiatives. She's also the founder of Mindfulness Elevated and Toni Will Coaching, a TEDx speaker, podcast host, Ironman athlete, and soon to be author of her first book, Not the Norm. And we're looking forward to seeing that come out. This conversation is part of a special Mind Capture Boot Camp series here on the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm talking with several of this year's speakers so we can get a sneak peek at the ideas, energy, and inspiration waiting for you in Grand Rapids, Michigan this year, starting in November. The theme of this year's is Leadership Matters, especially now. Today we have Toni Will on the show. Welcome, Toni. It's a honor to have you here today, and I just love your glasses as we were talking earlier.
Thanks, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation with you and also speak at the conference this fall.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to be there too. So we'll get to meet in person, and that'll be fun.
Love it.
So you've led in banking and professional hockey, and now in coaching. What was the spark that ignited the passion to pursue a path in leadership?
I just say I came out of the womb this way. I'm the classic eldest child, born on the first of the month, if anyone follows astrology and any of that stuff, which I do loosely. But I've always been someone that isn't afraid to kind of stick your neck out. I view leadership sometimes as taking a lot of arrows for her team. And it just so happens that I've had this really interesting career path over the last 25 years, which started in banking. I was in economic development for a period and then moved into professional sports completely on accident, not even knowing that my gender was going to play a role in anything that I've done there and continue to do with the Kalamazoo Wings.
And are you a hockey fan?
I am.
You are now.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, it was the shortest answer is completely on accident, but I left my job within economic development without knowing what was next. I was in my mid-30s, and when I was running the Chamber of Commerce here in Kalamazoo, that's a forward community-facing job, and I was looking for something not forward-facing. My kids were at an age at that point where I wanted to spend a little bit more time with them, but not stay home. I loved working. And it was that classic double bind that women find themselves in sometimes. So I actually applied for a job in a high-end fashion boutique within the Radisson Plaza Hotel, which is a marquee hotel downtown Kalamazoo. And they were like, "Toni, you are way overqualified for this." And I said, "I know." And they said, "You'll be bored." And I said, "That's okay. I'm not looking to make a big splash. I'm just figuring out what's next for me." And they said, "Well, we're going to come back to you." I said, "Okay." And they did. And they said, "We think you'd be great to run the Kalamazoo Wings." I said, "The hockey team?" Yeah, I'm born and raised in Kalamazoo, so I'd been to a few games growing up, but I go, "They're still around?" And they said, "Well, that's part of the challenge." And they saw something in me that I didn't see, which was someone that knew how to lead teams. And I did know how to lead teams. I took 2 different of my staffs through bank mergers. Someone that loved the community and someone that knew business. And I was all those things. And so I said yes to the best job I never knew I wanted. And here I am almost 11 years later, and we're opening a brand new arena in a couple of years downtown Kalamazoo.
Isn't it funny how sometimes people see things in you that you don't ever see?
100%. And it's that growth mindset that I'm really proud of, that has taken me a lot of places in my career, of just that open-mindedness and a willing to look at things differently. And especially when people see something I don't see, I'm like, okay, like I'm going to trust that and I'm going to move forward and see. It requires an amount of courage and self-confidence, but and sometimes some missteps, but that's okay.
And when you walked into the Wings and they see a woman, how do they treat you, and how did you navigate that experience?
Yeah, and it can be super confusing too, because my name is Toni. and that is,
With an
generate
I.
with an
With
I.
an
Yeah.
I.
But people just assume that my name is Toni and that,
Yeah.
and I have short hair, and it's like, no, I'm a woman. It was perceived as a weakness, and that was part of what my TEDx was about. This perceived weakness that a woman running the organization is going to take it into a more negative space, when in actuality, we've grown revenues year over year. Attendance has grown. We're award winning now. We've earned Guinness World Records. We've dyed the ice rainbow. We've raised money for countless nonprofits. We've done so many phenomenal things. And it's because, to your earlier question, am I a fan of hockey? I wasn't. And I don't, as a GM at this level, you're not in charge of the on ice product. And that's where people get confused. GMs at the minor league level are responsible for the business side. Our hockey head coach is the director of hockey operations. We work in tandem. He's the on ice product. I'm off ice. And so at this level, I don't need to be a hockey fan and know all the ins and outs of what's happening on the ice. That's his job. But what's interesting about that is our head coach is Black. You don't see a Black head coach and a female GM anywhere in hockey
No.
except Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Well, it's cold.
It is cool.
I know. I used to have one of my mentors when I first got into information technology, IT. He was a programming instructor, and he was Black, and yeah, he just did not like the cold. It was funny,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but he was a great guy. Anyhow, yeah, it's cold on the ice. So switching over to the boot camp. At the boot camp, the theme is leadership matters, especially now. From your journey leading in both professional hockey and entrepreneurship, what's one leadership lesson you'll be sharing with the audience?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons I'll be walking through is my 6 leadership pillars. This is, I get asked oftentimes, how did you do this? How did you turn a hockey franchise around? How did you quit drinking? Because one of the things I'm passionate about is living alcohol free and helping others do the same if they choose to. And so I learned, it actually started with the K Wings when my alma mater, Western Michigan University, reached out to me and said, we'd like for you to speak at one of our classes about the Kalamazoo Wings and what you've done there. And I said, well, I'm like, what have I done? Because it was a lot of unconscious competence that I had. I wasn't really able to articulate it. So I sat down at my desk and wrote out 6 things that I did in order to turn the franchise into what it is today. And those became my leadership pillars. And really, you can apply them to any part of your life. And so I shared that in my TEDx. I take it to when I speak and engagements and my own conference that I put on every year as well.
I know it is funny too when you're asked to speak and you have to, you take so much for granted. It's like, well, I just did what was necessary,
Mhm.
and then okay, well, when I started out, I didn't have a framework or a frame of reference even, but now I have a framework, and I never set out to do that. I mean, that's kind of the backward. You kind of iterate through, and you make mistakes, and you you rinse and repeat until you get it right. I mean, it's not overnight since success.
No.
It's a journey.
Well, and the funny thing is overnight success is like 10 years in the making. And that's what's funny about it. It just so happens I've been in my job now for almost 11 years, but that's the ironic part in all this. And I would say a big part of my leadership style is working backwards. If I were to label, put it in something concise, I know I'm good at strategy because I know where I want to take us and how to motivate the troops. But how do we get there? And it's not the same thing every time, especially in sports entertainment. So setting a Guinness World Record, for example, okay, we're attempting to set this record. Well, let's work backwards so we know how to break this down into bite-sized chunks to be able to accomplish the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. Start with the end in mind.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So why is this message? Oh, you mentioned your pillars. Is that? Can you tell me about what that is? I think it's guide, isn't it?
No,
Oh
no,
no,
no, there's
no.
no acronym to mine.
Oh, okay.
So really what it was, so when I get asked, like,
That's only 5 letters.
yes, 5, maybe 2 E's or 2 anyways, um, So my leadership pillars, I'll list them off, and then if we want to dive into the why of each one. But number one is go to the experts, and number two is I'm off the top of my head. Number one, go to the experts. Number two, innovate.
Hmm.
Number three, make mistakes. Number four, ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Hmm.
Number five is
I love
macro.
that.
Number five is macro manage, and then number six is have fun. And
Yeah, I
oh,
like that.
that's the framework in which I took the Kalamazoo Wings to what it is today. I certainly didn't do it alone, and that's where my leadership style, and I talk about each one of these things in terms of what they mean and how you can apply them personally or professionally.
Yeah, and which of those do you think is the most important, or are they all? They're obviously all important. What do you think the most stand out of those things is challenging yet so rewarding for business owners and leaders and entrepreneurs?
Number one, go to the
Yeah,
experts. That's why it's in the
yeah,
top spot. And
yeah,
there, I would say after, go to the experts, you could kind of, they don't have to be in any specific order. But I think oftentimes, especially as leaders, we think we need to have all the answers.
hmm,
And that's simply, and I don't feel that way because I didn't know how to do, when I walked through the doors of the Wings Event Center, I didn't know how to run a hockey team. And I certainly didn't think I had all the answers. And I think that's what's unique about me as a leader. I'm totally upfront with saying, I don't know, let me find someone who does, and I'm going to learn from them.
yeah, and your Tony, the Tony with the Y, the host of the Mind Capture Boot Camp, always says seek wise counsel. So I'm sure he that your pillar, that first pillar, really resonates with him as well. So what's one action someone listening today could take to become a stronger, more effective leader and in their own business or their community or their own hockey team?
So, one of the things that I do is I set goals for myself every year. I have a 1 year vision worksheet and I have a battle board, I have all this stuff, but um, that's That's not one of the things that's on there is what's really important. I think in order to be an exceptional leader, you need to be willing to learn and look at different viewpoints from different angles from all kinds of different experts. So one of the goals I set for myself is to read my age every year. So I'm 47 years old. That means I'm reading 47 books this year. And
Oh, wow.
they're on all different types of topics, but that goes on my 1 year vision worksheet. I break it down weekly onto my battle board, which hangs up on my office wall here at home. And I take in books. I'm reading two or three at a time. Half of them are on Audible. I still love a real book. I have a Kindle app on my phone. So different modalities, but and not all leadership books, but it allows me to be well-rounded and look at different thought processes and frameworks and stories and then apply them into my leadership style as I continue to evolve. Because again, I don't have all the answers. So how can I learn and continue to learn?
Yeah, and you mentioned number one being that taking action. I'm sorry. The practical takeaway was seeking wise counsel or going to the experts. What do you have an example of someone who you've coached or who've been in your organization under your leadership that have applied that and has seen a breakthrough?
Yeah, boy, I'm trying to think about within the K-Wings organization. I mean, I'm coaching my staff constantly. They do their own 1 year vision worksheets. We work on these things together. I do have a client though, because as you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur as well. And
Yeah.
so I do coaching, lifestyle coaching to help people reduce or remove alcohol. And then I also have professional development coaching that I do. And I just had a client today. We had a coaching session this morning, and she works in the education field, specifically selling mathematics to school districts to help them teach their students to learn math. And one of the things she has done is she goes, I took this go to the experts outside of the company she works in to learn from other experts in the same field, but they have a different framework, a different product they're selling. And she wanted to learn from another female in this industry. And she was like, it was such a great conversation because while we're in the same industry, we work for different companies, different points of view, and we can help each other become better in our roles. And that's
Mhm.
a perfect example of how I call it growing out because sometimes we don't need to constantly be aspiring to a higher level. We can grow in our current role, but grow outwards by making more connections outside of ourselves by going to other experts.
Yeah, and sometimes just having a different perspective from someone else's point of view, or I always think that borrowing from other industries that are totally unrelated really can be helpful, in having a different perspective and just saying, well, just like the banking, I think were the first to introduce the drive-through.
Mhm.
And then and that was there was no such thing as a fast food drive-through until they did it. And then I don't remember if it was Ray Kroc who did it first, but now there are probably more fast food drive-throughs than there are bank drive-throughs. I don't know. And maybe I think every most banks have one, but yeah, that's just a different perspective, and you can innovate and totally disrupt your industry by borrowing from a different perspective. So I think that's important. One thing, yeah, one thing I like to ask leaders who are growing, and once you get past a certain level, you need to retool and you need to bring new people into your organization. And sometimes that's real messy. Sometimes if done improperly or incorrectly, in my opinion, you kind of lose that essence of the morals and values and foundation that was originally intended for that organization. How do you think leaders should tackle that reality today?
Yeah, so I was raised by an executive coach. My dad owned his own business, and so I grew up in this era of kind of before executive coaching was a thing. My dad was doing it in the 80s. And so I would take like Gallup Strength Finders and disc assessments, and he would run me through stuff at 13 years old.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I've known from such a yeah, I mean, it's in my DNA. And so my dad's 82 now, and we talk about this stuff, and it's an interesting point in my career where I am, I'm 25 years in. So it's a different space. I was kind of up and coming, and now I'm hitting, my peaking, and who knows? I don't know. But part of this has been retooling the team. And so I take these learnings that I've had and invest them in my staff because I want them to grow out of their role. And in a sports, one of the things you see is they have dreams of working at higher levels within sports.
Yeah.
So everyone understands we are affiliated at the higher levels of hockey, but it's a system. And so the NHL, the AHL, and then the ECHL. And so our players move up and down this system. And the goal for the players is they want to get to what we call the show. They want to get to the NHL. Well, my staff is no different. Maybe it's not hockey, maybe it's baseball, maybe it's basketball, maybe it's football, but they want to work generally speaking at higher leagues. And so how can I get them there and
Mm.
invest in them and teach them and help them learn so they grow into those dream jobs? And I have countless stories of that where they've gone on to those dream jobs. And then that allows me to rebuild the team and backfill and to have new a new talent. It doesn't have to be young, it could be any age coming into the organization.
Yeah.
And so the culture itself actually stays the same. My leadership style stays the same and the culture stays the same, but we bring new energy into it.
Gotcha. That's a great answer.
Thank
It's
you.
just investing in your people, and sometimes you have these unmet expectations that if you don't, like you said, invest in people, they'll never know that you have those expectations. And so it's a really hands-on thing that you have to do, I think, when you bring people in. And then there's also a systematic approach that you need to apply so that there's consistency. What were some of the systems that you had to put into place to ensure that you would actually invest in people and move them through that process?
So there's a lot of things. I'll start with the hiring process itself. So the hiring process isn't just me interviewing people. I interview no matter what the role is, but then my staff does a team fit because it's about the culture of the team, not just what Tony thinks. And then if there's buy-in from all of them and me, then we move the interviewee to the next steps in the process. So we have a collective buy-in. It's never Tony just I'm in charge, you're doing what I want. That's not how this works for
Yeah.
me and my culture. So it starts there. Then when they do come on board, I do the Clifton Strength Finders. So I know exactly what their strengths are. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me this. I know exactly what their strengths are. I get to teach them what their strengths are and how it's best applied within this team. And then we move into one-on-one sessions with me every month. And so we work on a 1-year vision worksheet for them. And they do their own battle board. It aligns with their sales goals and it aligns with their personal life too, because I want them to bring their whole person to work. Gone are the days, at least for anyone that works for me, where there's leave that stuff at home. No, they bring the whole person, because that's how we're better in our roles. We generate more revenue. We're happier at work. And so I sit down with them every month and we go over not only their sales goals or creative, because I have a creative staff as well, but we go over how we're going to 10x those goals over the next 3 to 5 years so they can be the whole person they want to be, so they're happier and achieve whatever goals they have.
Wow, I love that. That hands-on approach really, really helps. I bet people really, really like working with you on that. And just again, having a different perspective and having somebody investing their personal time, really, really reinforces your. It's no wonder. It's no wonder that you're making uh, Guinness World Book records. So, how important do you think humility is in the role of a leader?
I think it's really important. I think humility is important, but I also think having a sense of humor is important. And that touches on my sixth leadership pillar of having fun. I mean, well, first off, I think the line of business you work in matters. Like, I'm in sports and entertainment. It should be fun, but when you know how the sausage is made behind the scenes, it's not all fun all the time. So
No,
the culture, one of where, we're laughing, we're engaging, we want to be together. And I do certain things. So it is fun, like going out on sales calls and having them come back. I have this goofy prize wheel with fun prizes on it and they get to spin it. And, there's just things like that and they're cool prizes, by the way, like make your own hours day. Like you just come in and leave when you want, or things like that. And
yeah,
so
that is cool.
yeah, so it's or lunch with me, and I don't know if they said that was a fun or if it's a punishment, and we were just joking about that stuff, but,
Yeah,
you know, so the idea is and also too, if make mistakes is in my leadership as well, my 6 leadership pillars, and being able to say laugh at those mistakes, because 'cause we're all gonna make them, and it's okay to have that humility, to be, we're all human, we don't have all the answers, and, to be one's authentic self. So having a sense of humor, I think, is really important.
yeah, super important. So behind the scenes, what excites you the most about being part of the Mind Capture Boot Camp this year?
Tony and I met both doing our TEDx. We shared the TEDx stage last
Okay.
October. And when there's another Tony in the room, we're gonna find each other. And so there were just the work that he's done, I'm so impressed by. And I'm excited to just be a part to see what his conference is all about. And he's got the same energy levels I think I do. And we align on a lot of the
Totally.
same core values. And we're just I'm excited to see how it goes. I put on my first conference this year called Empower Her, and he picked up the phone. He called me. He's like, "Welcome to the event space," and it was a lot of work. And he's just, I don't know, we get each other, and so I'm excited to see what he's doing, and he's been doing for a long time, and to meet the people in his world. I think it's going to be great connections and relationships for me to build.
Totally. And didn't he go to WMU too?
He did, yeah. We
Yeah.
have a lot in common.
Yeah. So, do you have any rituals or routines before you step on the stage? I mean, that TEDx experience, I don't know if that was your first experience. It sounds like you've done some, but that's a pretty prestigious kind of thing.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. So when I would say every day to me, and I don't wanna sound corny, but every day is kinda like stepping on stage, and by that I mean, it's really important to me what I call set the table for the day. And so, let me explain what setting the table is. Before I need to be seated in my office, whether it's my home office or my office at the arena, carve out 3 hours in the morning to do the things that make me whole and ground me. So that includes working out, meditating, writing in my gratitude journal, reading for 30 minutes, eating a healthy breakfast, exercise, all the things. And then by the time I hit my desk, I'm ready to go. So my day could go great or it could go sideways. and I'm ready because I've invested in myself first. And I call that being self-full and not selfish. And so that's allowed me to, whenever I go anywhere, whether I'm speaking on this interview or, on the stage, when I go speak at this conference, that I'm grounded and I'm my most authentic self.
Yeah, I love that. Having a morning routine is so important. I always like to ask people about their morning routines because of, I mean, I lost 42 pounds because of watching I started just working out, or it was just walking at first because I couldn't do anything more than that. My son invited me to, or my son's coach invited me to coach his Pop Warner team. I was the, like, an assistant coach, and they were fifth graders, and I was taking snaps from a fifth grader. And boy, at the end of the day, I had to crouch down so low, my butt was on the ground almost, to get this ball from the kid, teach him how to snap. And so I started walking, and eventually started running. But it wasn't until I nailed the nutrition that really, those two things had such a different. And to do it, I had to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is so empowering, I think, to start your morning that way, because you've got to get up early to be able to do 3 hours. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm up usually at 6 or 6:15, because in the sports entertainment world, we work non-traditional hours. And
yeah.
so, which is one of the things I love about it. I did the 9 to 5. I like the freedom of, I don't mind working nights and weekends. And
Mhm.
so doesn't bother me.
Yeah. This episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show is brought to you by the 2025 Mind Capture Boot Camp, a high impact 2-day event happening in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You're hearing from one of the speakers today, but if you want to go deeper, connect in person, and capture some serious momentum, join us live. And you can grab your tickets now at mindcapturegroup.com/bootcamp 2025 and experience what happens when big ideas meet bold action. Yeah. So rapid fire. So you mentioned books, and I guess if you have a morning routine that includes 3 hours and a half hour of reading a book, you can read a lot of books. And so, what was a book that changed your thinking, though?
A book, oh gosh, a book that changed my thinking. I would say 10x is easier than 2x by Dr. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. It's a book on how to scale, or really it's about a mindset shift and specific to business, but you can apply it to your personal life as well.
Yeah. The Dan Sullivan question is a great question to ask people too. If you're a coach, you're familiar with that,
Mhm.
I imagine. Yeah. It, for the listeners out there, the Dan Sullivan question is something like: imagine yourself a year or 5 years or however long down the road you are, looking back, what has had to have happened, and that this fits with your start with the end in mind and work backwards. What would have had to happen? And it allows you to think backwards and say, okay, well, I would have to overcome these things. And it's a real freeing way to look at goals, because a lot of times when we set goals, when we set out to do them, we put guardrails up that say, oh, well, I can't do that, those are obstacles that. But if you already view yourself as the success and what did happen on the way there, it can remove those obstacles. So, uh,
100%.
yeah. So, what's your favorite quote or mantra?
I said my favorite quote actually in my TEDx, which was Mark Twain quote, which is, if it's something in the lines of, if the majority is doing it, basically you need to reevaluate. If you're in the
Yeah.
majority, I'm paraphrasing, but reevaluate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one underrated skill every leader must have or needs.
One underrated skill. Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go back to a growth mindset. I would encourage leaders to really challenge themselves. Are you learning and growing? Are you reading? Are you going to conferences? Are you being challenged in that way? I don't really know the answer. I'd have to do a little bit of research to see how many leaders would say they're doing that, but I see it. I don't see it as often as I thought I would.
Yeah. I would say humility,
Mm.
you know, because I'm on my phrase for the year is humility. And it's a hard one for me, but I think it's important, very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we wrap up, where can listeners find more about you and your work?
So the hockey side of my life is at kwings.com. And then everything related to my TEDx and the coaching I do, my book coming out next year. I have a podcast too, by the way, called Women
Oh,
In.
great.
Yep, that's all on toniwill.com. And then I'm also on social media, LinkedIn and Facebook at Toni Lentini Will. And then I'm on Instagram at I'm Toni Will.
Yeah, and we connected last night on LinkedIn, so that's great. We'll have to stay in touch. Why should someone make it a priority to see you live at the boot camp?
Oh, I love meeting people in person, and I think that building relationships is critical to someone's success. And so, and we've gotten in, the pandemic, technology was our friend, but there's
Yeah,
something about being in the room together and meeting, having that energy and that synergy. And I love to meet new people. It gives me energy. So I would love for you to come and hear me talk and speak, and especially if you're a woman that's in a male-dominated industry, I think you will definitely resonate with what I'm going to be talking about.
definitely. Well, thank you so much, Toni. Now, you've just heard a taste of Toni's story live. She's going to go even deeper at at the boot camp. So get your ticket now at mindcapturegroup.com/bootcamp 2025. And I'll be there. Toni will be there, and we'd love to see you too. So as we sign off, remember faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyan, and Toni Will. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate our discussion, and it was great fun. I'm looking forward to meeting you in November.
Same.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyan, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.